There is a moment, quiet, almost unnoticeable, when a man begins to look at you differently. He may not say it, he may not even understand it himself, but something in him shifts. And in that shift, a desire begins to awaken. Not just for your body, not just for your presence, but for something deeper, something he can't quite name. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to chase it. You don't have to control it. You don't even have to try to be someone else. Because the secret to making a man want you more than ever lies not in changing yourself, but in returning to yourself. We've been taught, many of us since we were little girls, that if we want to be loved, we must earn it. That if we want to be wanted, we must perform. We must please. We must be good. We must be quiet. We must be beautiful in a very specific way. And maybe, just maybe, then someone will want us enough to stay. But that idea, that belief, is the very thing that pushes love away. Louise Hay used to say, "Love is never outside of you. It is always within." So what if I told you that the most magnetic thing you could ever do is not chase him, but choose yourself so completely, so unapologetically, that the energy around you begins to shift? That men, especially the man, feel it, sense it, and begin to lean into you without understanding why? He doesn't want perfection. He wants presence. He doesn't crave performance. He craves truth. And he will want you more than ever when you become the woman who belongs deeply to herself. There's a reason why some women effortlessly attract attention, even when they walk into a room silently. There's a reason why some women leave an imprint in a man's mind, even if he only spent a few minutes with her. It's not about looks. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about energy. Masculine energy is drawn to feminine energy, not because of logic, but because of resonance. And your feminine energy awakens in its fullest power, not when you are looking outward, but when you are deeply connected to your inner sense of worth. Louise Hay taught that our thoughts create our reality, and that includes how others see us, how they feel about us, and how they respond to our presence. So if you're thinking, "He's losing interest, I'm not enough, he probably likes someone else," those aren't just thoughts. They become the energy you carry, the frequency you radiate, and men pick that up. But when you shift it, when you begin to think, "I am worthy of deep, lasting love. My presence is magnetic. I am whole, even when I am alone." Your energy expands. You stop needing to chase because your inner world becomes so rich, so full, so alive that the outer world begins to respond to you. You become a woman who doesn't ask, "Will he choose me?" You become the woman who silently declares, "I choose myself, and that makes me unforgettable." Let's go even deeper. A man is biologically wired to pursue. It's not just psychological, it's primal. But in the modern world, we've reversed roles. Women often feel like they have to prove themselves, initiate everything, stay available, be hyper-responsive, always look perfect. And men? They get comfortable, lazy even. But here's the thing. When a man feels that a woman is centered in her value, when she's not anxiously waiting for his message, when she doesn't beg for his attention, something ancient awakens in him. He starts to wonder, why is she different? Why doesn't she need me to feel important? Why do I feel so drawn to her, even when she isn't doing anything? And that's when he starts to want you more, because you become a mystery, a soft power, a presence he can't ignore. Louise Hay often spoke of mirror work, standing in front of the mirror, looking into your own eyes and saying, "I love you. You are enough." You might think that has nothing to do with making a man want you, but it has everything to do with it. Because when you look at yourself with love, others learn how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. When you accept yourself fully, you stop tolerating crumbs. And when you embody that level of self-regard, you no longer beg to be chosen. You become the one men feel lucky to get close to. It's not about being cold. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about having a heart that is open, but not desperate, loving, but not needy, warm, but not self-abandoning. That is feminine power. And feminine power does not scream. It radiates, it draws in, it invites without chasing. A man's desire grows in the space you allow, not in the pressure you create. And when you truly begin to embody this, when you rise each morning with the quiet knowing that you are enough, you won't have to ask anymore if he wants you. You'll feel it, you'll see it, you'll live it. Because the most irresistible energy is a woman who isn't trying to be irresistible. She just is. And that, my love, is only the beginning. There's something sacred about a woman who no longer performs for love. Not because she's hardened or indifferent, but because she has returned home to herself. When a man sees this in you, even if he can't explain it, he feels it. It disarms him. It makes him pause. And in that pause, something beautiful happens. He begins to realize that your value isn't in how much you give to him, but in how rooted you are in yourself. That's the kind of woman a man craves, the one who holds space not because she's playing a game, but because she respects her energy too much to pour it where it isn't honored. Louise Hay always said, "You have been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens." So much of our romantic energy is shaped by our inner dialogue. If you constantly think, "I need to be more this, less that, fix this, hide that," then no matter how beautiful you look on the outside, your energy will carry insecurity. And insecurity repels what you long to attract. But when you shift to, "I am already enough. I honor my timing. I radiate love and receive love with ease," then even your silence becomes magnetic. It's the inner work that becomes outer glow. And here's something no one tells you. Men don't fall in love with effort. They fall in love with essence. They remember how you made them feel. They remember your calm, your softness, your unpredictability, the way you didn't chase but didn't pull away either, the way you made them earn access to your world. That's what builds value. Not texting first, not over-explaining, not filling every silence, but knowing that you are the experience and that your life is full, with or without him. Now let's go deeper. Most women don't realize this. When you want him more than you want yourself, he feels it and he pulls away. Not because you're not good enough, but because your energy stops being attractive and starts being demanding. But when you want yourself more than you want anything else, he becomes curious. He leans in. He feels a pull he can't resist because you're no longer trying to take something from him. You're simply being. And that beingness is irresistible. Think of the most unforgettable women in your life. Were they always the prettiest, the most put together, or were they the ones who were unapologetically themselves? Louise Hay believed that self-love is not just a concept, it's a daily practice. You don't just wake up one day fully confident. You choose over and over again to respond to your inner child with kindness. When your mind says, "You're not good enough," you answer with, "I am learning, I am growing, and I am worthy right now." That inner healing shapes your outer magnetism. You stop trying to prove, you stop trying to fix, and instead, you flow. And men are deeply, deeply drawn to women who live in flow. There is a feminine radiance in you that blossoms when you no longer need a man to complete you. He becomes the bonus to a life that already feels whole. And ironically, that's exactly what makes him want to stay. Because now, you're not asking him to carry your emotional world. You're inviting him to witness it. You're not asking him to rescue you from your loneliness. You're allowing him to meet you in your fullness. This kind of dynamic creates polarity, the electric charge between the masculine and feminine. And here's a truth very few women have the courage to live. When you stop being easy access, you raise your frequency. Not in a manipulative way, not in a cold way, but in an empowered way. You don't respond to breadcrumbs. You don't justify disrespect. You don't tolerate emotional vagueness. Instead, you say with your energy, "If you want to be here, bring your presence. If not, that's okay. I am already whole." That's not being difficult. That's being devotional to yourself. And that devotion becomes your beauty. Now, let me tell you something else. When you start doing this work, when you start loving yourself more deeply than ever before, some men will leave. And that's not a loss. That's a filter. You weren't meant to shrink so he could stay. You were meant to rise so that the one who sees you, really sees you, can rise with you. Louise Hay wrote, "You've been criticizing yourself for years. Try loving yourself and see what happens." That's not just a cute quote. That's a spiritual law. Because when a woman begins to live in alignment with her own truth, when she honors her intuition, her rest, her pleasure, her boundaries, she becomes magnetic. She stops trying to get love and instead becomes love. And what man could ever forget a woman who became love in his presence? This is not a game. It's not about tricking a man into wanting you. It's about remembering your essence, your worth, your softness, your standards. And when you do that, you don't just make him want you. You make him feel safe to fall into his own masculine energy. You create polarity. You create mystery. You create invitation. And men will always chase what feels like an invitation, not a demand. There's a profound truth most women aren't told. The more you try to control how a man feels about you, the more disconnected you become from your own power. Real magnetism doesn't come from strategy. It comes from surrender. Now, that word, surrender, is often misunderstood. Surrender is not weakness. It is not submission. Surrender is trusting yourself so completely, loving yourself so unconditionally, that you no longer need to hold on so tightly to anyone or anything outside of you. Louise Hay used to say, "When we let go of fear, the next step becomes clear." So many women are operating from fear without even realizing it. Fear of being alone, fear of being forgotten, fear that if they stop giving so much, they'll lose him. But what if that fear is exactly what's been dimming your light? Because fear contracts, love expands. And when you live in expansion, in trust, in presence, you become magnetic to everything that is meant for you, including the man who's meant to love you deeply. Let me share something else. There is a rhythm to the feminine heart, a natural ebb and flow, moments when you feel soft and open, moments when you need solitude and silence. Honoring that rhythm is part of your power. You don't always have to be on. You don't always have to be performing, impressing, proving. Sometimes the most attractive thing you can do is simply rest in your being. A man doesn't need you to be perfect. He needs you to be real. He needs to feel your joy when you laugh, your silence when you reflect, your boundaries when something doesn't feel right. You don't have to make yourself smaller to be loved. You don't have to tone down your sensitivity, your magic, your depth. Because the right man, he won't be afraid of your fullness. He'll be drawn to it, and he'll want you more. Not because you're trying to be desirable, but because you've made peace with who you are. Louise Hay taught that we are responsible for our thoughts and our words, and that the universe responds to the energy we emit. So what kind of energy are you sending out when you anxiously wait for a text? When you check his social media hoping for a sign? When you mold yourself to be his type? You're sending the signal, "I don't fully believe in my worth." But when you reclaim that energy and redirect it inward, when you use that moment of doubt to light a candle, journal your truth, whisper affirmations to yourself in the mirror, you change the signal. You begin to say, "I trust that I am enough. I trust that the right man will recognize me because I've already recognized myself." That is the foundation of all true attraction, not performance, not perfection, but self-recognition. Here's another truth. You don't become unforgettable by doing more. You become unforgettable by being more present, being more authentic, being more in love with your own life. Because nothing calls a man deeper than a woman who is in love with her own becoming. A woman who isn't waiting to be chosen, but who has already chosen herself. And if he's not ready for that level of depth, that level of beauty, that level of wholeness, that's not your rejection. That's your redirection. because your value doesn't diminish in someone else's inability to see it. Louise Hay always reminded us, you have the power to heal your life, and you need to know that. That includes your love life, that includes your patterns, that includes the parts of you that have been abandoned, ignored, or silenced. When you begin to heal those parts, you no longer seek attention, you radiate it. You no longer beg to be seen, you become unforgettable. You no longer ask, why doesn't he want me? You understand, the right man will feel me even in my silence. And here's the secret no one talks about. It's not the woman who gives the most that's remembered. It's the woman who feels the most, who lives fully, breathes deeply, speaks truthfully, and walks through the world with softness and certainty at the same time. That's the energy he can't get enough of. That's what makes him want you more, even when you're not around. That's what lingers in his mind at night. That's what shifts you from being someone he likes to someone he can't stop thinking about. Because you're no longer just an option. You become an experience, a frequency, a presence he doesn't know how to replicate. And all of that begins with the courage to say, I no longer chase, I magnetize. I no longer shapeshift, I embody. I no longer doubt, I trust. And that trust is what brings everything into alignment. There's something that happens when you stop needing love to feel full. A different kind of magic awakens, not the loud, flashy kind, but a quiet power that lives deep in your cells. And when a man encounters that power, he notices, not just with his eyes, but with his body, with his intuition, with his heart. Because the truth is, every man has an internal compass. It may be buried under ego, fear, distractions, but when he stands in front of a woman who has claimed herself, that compass starts to spin. He feels pulled, not by words, not by pressure, but by something ancient, something primal. And it doesn't matter how long he's known you. It could be months, weeks, or even a few moments. When your energy is grounded in self-love, it leaves an imprint. Louise Hay often said that what we give out, we get back. And most women don't realize how much they are giving away emotionally without receiving anything in return. They give their peace, they give their time, they give their bodies, they give their forgiveness before it's even asked for, all because they're afraid to lose him. But here's a radical truth. When you fear losing him more than you fear losing yourself, you've already created a dynamic that will drain you. And the energy of depletion is not attractive. But the energy of boundaries is, the energy of clarity is, the energy of a woman who knows what she will and will not accept. That's magnetic. You don't have to explain your standards, you simply embody them, and he will either rise to meet them or fall away. Both outcomes are a win, because a woman who honors herself never loses. Now let's explore something deeper. The masculine is drawn to the unknown, to the unpredictable, to the woman who feels like a journey, not a destination. But what makes you feel like a journey isn't how mysterious you act. It's how committed you are to your own evolution. When you're always learning, always expanding, always blooming into new parts of yourself, you create an energy of movement. That movement is irresistible. Because men get bored when a woman tries to be a fantasy, but they stay intrigued when she's a living, breathing story. A woman who's passionate about her life, who dances with her purpose, who values her peace more than temporary attention. That's the woman he wants to come home to, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And the more you cultivate that within yourself, the more he will want to participate in your world, not just visit it. Louise Hay often spoke about affirmations as tools to reprogram the mind. So if you've been in the habit of thinking, I'm not chosen, I'm too much, I'm not enough, then it's time to rewire. Try this. I am a powerful magnet for aligned love. I radiate a frequency that calls in devotion. I release the need to chase, and I rest in the knowing that what is mine is already on its way. You don't say those things just to feel better. You say them to shift your identity. Because when you shift how you see yourself, you shift how the world sees you. And the man who once felt distant or confused will begin to feel drawn back in, not because you convinced him, but because you became someone he can't ignore, not from neediness, not from strategy, but from energetic alignment. Let's take this even further. You can be beautiful, you can be kind, you can be generous. But if you are not embodied, if you are not grounded in your own essence, your presence will not penetrate. Embodiment is when your inner world and your outer expression are in harmony. You're not pretending, you're not performing, you're simply being. And that being carries a vibrational truth that can't be faked. That's why you'll hear some men say things like, "I don't know what it is about her. I just can't stop thinking about her." They're not responding to her words, they're responding to her energy. So what's the energy you want to live in? Is it pick me, or is it I choose me? Because the moment you deeply choose yourself, the world, including the men in it, begins to respond to you differently. Not because you forced it, but because you return to alignment, and alignment is unforgettable. There comes a moment in every woman's journey when she finally understands. She doesn't have to chase, she doesn't have to convince, she doesn't have to beg, shrink, or overgive to be loved. She simply has to return. Return to her truth, return to her worth, return to the radiant, intuitive, deeply magnetic woman she already is, beneath all the layers of fear and doubt. That return changes everything. Because when you love yourself enough to stop abandoning who you are just to be accepted, you start attracting people who are aligned with your soul, not just your surface. And the man who is meant to walk beside you, truly walk with you, won't want you to dim your light. He'll want more of it, more of your presence, more of your softness, more of your truth. Louise Hay taught us that every thought we think is creating our future. So what would happen if today you chose a new thought? A thought that whispers, "I am not here to be chosen. I am here to remember that I already am. I no longer fear being alone because I am already whole. I don't have to prove my worth. My presence speaks for itself." Let those thoughts become your daily anchor. Let them carry you back to yourself gently and powerfully. Let them soften your breath, slow your heart, and lift your vibration. And then, watch. Watch how life begins to respond to you differently. How the man who once felt distant begins to feel your absence. How the world around you opens in the presence of your self-love. Because you stopped waiting to be desired, and you became desire itself. That, my love, is the secret. Not a tactic, not a performance, not a trick, but a deep remembering of who you are. You were never meant to chase love. You were meant to become love. And when you do, he will feel it. He will sense it. He will be drawn to it more than ever before. Because a woman who knows her worth is unforgettable. If these words stirred something in you, if even one line awakened something you'd forgotten, then I invite you to stay close. Leave a comment below with your favorite affirmation. Let's create a space where every woman remembers her power. Share this video with a friend, a sister, or a woman you love who might need to hear this today. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe, because this isn't just a video, it's a movement. A movement of women who are healing, who are rising, who are remembering that love is not outside of them. It begins within. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. Until next time, with truth in your voice and love in your heart, keep coming home to yourself.